Hi, this is Jason Faulkner. This is my long version of my short version of I brought my pitchfork and my torch and my chewing tobacco. And I don't vape. But they got these people locked into zombified lifestyles of questionlessly vaccinating each other's unknown concoctions until they themselves have now become uh, biological weapons of unknown infections and origins. They don't even need to vax themselves. They farm and groom these one step away from street trash people that are mentally ill, sitting living in government funded and maintained trash holes all throughout the countryside, from coast to coast, north to west, and even on the streets in conglomerated organized groups. And they've got them predispositioned and trained to do and enact anything, any whim that they want. Not even for anything, just for a maintained status within their affirmative action group. That's how it all is. They don't have to buy them nothing. Who's getting all these new cars? Is it the people selling their children to these people if they have a desirable child that's attractive and has a monetary worth within this regime? Probably. And who just doesn't care if they have a car? That's these people that's already vaccinated, which could be the same people, vaccinated and entrenched and ingrained in the affirmative action society. The affirmative action society, traveling around aimlessly from one assignment to another to keep the assault on America going fresh. Donald Trump has taken over Walgreens chain. You know he's the man behind all this. He's the man behind the island, the infamous island that I remember when the island was his and it was in South Daytona. And they pressed for a few years the same illicitness until they became unhinged and unnerved and moved the island to the Bahamas. It was not a mistake to run the island in America right under our noses, at least initially, because to set the tone, to virtue signal that they are this illicit, corrupt, shadow world, underworld organization of people that don't ask or wonder if what they're doing is right or wrong. They have a bully pulpit, and they just enforce their whims through all these other frontmen, like all those people in Washington, D.C., who really have no power. They're just part of the thin veneer that they maintain up above them in this underworld organization that is global. And they have assailed these Americans like me repeatedly for life. I'm 57. I've been assailed openly in public repeatedly so many times, and never one concern, even amongst the general citizenry surrounding me, could care less, because that's not what they're operating under. It's affirmative action. How they have manipulated their own lives to fit into the schematic that they maintain, and they get a benefit from affirmative action. I've never been that person. I've survived such a meek lifestyle that it's reminiscent of the propaganda videos that they used in the 80s as excuses to keep all of America's resources misdirected to global interest. Starving children, wars they create in the sandbox. Their artificial sandbox table wars that they work with world leaders behind the scenes to organize endless rank and file of innuendo that is the pentagram schematic that they use to constantly pressure and assail individuals. And that pentagram never stops, and it's endless, and it is so whimsical it could be anything. And they can drop the ball off one issue and ping it right back up here with another person with the power of the great American whore media. And there it is. And this is the Cart of America. I'm Jason Faulkner, aka Shop Weasel. There's many wrongs, and I could go on and preach like a college professor with his own college endlessly over all these issues until I'm winded and tired out to a point my health fails and I drop over, or they manipulate my scenery around me until they usher me off my own place down that road to where they've pre-positioned and plotted brutalities, molestations, and incarcerations until I'm disappeared out of life. That's how they work. They want to beat on individuals like me until we bend over in submission. And I've dodged that so far throughout life most of the time. Some instances when I was younger and learning, I did not. But I never did bend over. The day I bent over for them was the day I was forced to, and they assailed me with the use of these same people that surround us to this day. And they didn't bat an eye. They did what they did, and I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm calling a dirty, rotten terrorist fake what he is. And it's so virtue signal, he's married to a foreign Russian agent whom I believe is the great American media whore. There you have it. It's communism. And he's done such a shitty job openly so far that he's being obnoxious and virtue signaling yet again at the obedient silence of the masses of conditioned zombies and robots that they have farmed and created in this country. Even the farmers. That's right. They're a bunch of no-good zombie son of a bitches, just as the cops, just as the druggies on the street, or the foreign illegal immigrants in our homes and in our land that they've been manipulated and enriched with affirmative action money to buy into America, not as membership and neighbors, but as overlords and crime associates. There you have it. And that's Donald Trump. And that's his regime, and they've been practicing this since before Donald Trump was ever Donald Trump. Trump Sr. and Senior and great-grand Trump. And it goes on and on. This country has been beltwayed and molested repeatedly. Now Donald Trump has a perverted vision to reenact his relatives, past distant relatives, high crimes such as starving Americans in the street and walking over their dead corpses as another great powerful virtue signal that they control everything until they can pull and cherry pick which Americans die on the street and they walk over, or which Americans get accosted by their authority and get beaten or shot or murdered in broad daylight like Hitler's regime would, and never answer for it. We're already there, folks. 1984 is a keystone year when they shifted massive wealth under our noses, in our face, and used our own people against us with threats of violence and death to build the vast, great gulag complex that now exists in America, to partner the very police with the criminal. Now they're indistinguishable and amalgam together in partners in crime. They sure are. And have purged and repurged large masses of Americans until they have dwindled us real Americans down to a point where when we're not heard, nobody notices. And that's where we're at. And I haven't been a protester, and I haven't publicly spoken out a lot for a long time. I've been investing my time and patience privately, like the private American that I am, trying to correct my misinformation in my life that I've been misled my whole life until later in life. And I've devoted day and night, year after year, into giving myself a worth that is irrefutable. And I've reached that apex now. I've spent my time developing all these nice products and making every smart and sharp business move I could conceive. At the same time, dodging all these deadly pitfalls that they practice every day in this country openly, like assaulting Americans with the rest of the population, periodically in and out, up and down, trending the next illicit march of all these people so they can absorb every constant moment of the great American media whore while they look one way and then practice some very nasty stuff the other way with nobody even cares to look. They smirk and drive on by. Or they work behind the scenes like your own family would, trying to get that digital dollar, that favor money that we're playing along. Let's spy on this family member and let's diminish this person and beat him and assail him within his own family unit, while the rest of this keeps going on. And not only your own family members, but whoever they want to move in around you, throw endless money at, manipulate to where they're in a power position over you, and you've been sitting here sieged for 18 years, sieged, like down in Florida for 22 years, sieged and driven out into the hot sun, not out of a desire, but out of a need to survive. And to have all those wealthy people teethe on the sadist pleasure of your suffering, and all those operatives getting affirmative action teethe and earn more and compete against each other. And what's the next nastiest thing anyone can think of to apply to this guy? That's been my America, to where when even the teachers are in on it and they give students sharpened pencils to stab you repeatedly till they starve you and your father so long for so many years, just to set the stage so in the school, when it's your turn to get a voucher for the school lunch program, they dump your tray of food in the fucking garbage in front of all the students, and have extra staff that day on hand in that lunchroom looking at every student, making sure they don't slip this guy anything to eat, while they know you're ill and will severely suffer without eating. That's these bastards. And hey, I'm calling a skunk a fucking skunk, and this guy is not a president. He doesn't run the world. He doesn't run his world from Washington, D.C. He runs it from the Vatican in this communist virtue signaling way. He runs it through the great American media whore, constantly, with as deep of a perversion as he feels it takes to satisfy him. And fuck how we feel about it. I'm Jason Faulkner. I'm going to upload this. If you all don't like this, kiss my ass. If Donald Trump don't like this, I'd debate him in a public forum, just like I offered the sheriff of this county. Meet you any day, as long as it's in the public and everybody's watching. And don't run, because I'll make them run. The truth, they don't like the truth. They don't even know what the truth is. It's not part of their schematic. Back in 1984, when I did move to Florida, I seen all those three-piece business suit people on the street that they sent around to virtue signal, and the information drop to me how you all operate, to where you're so scrambled up in your noodle, you don't even work right. No, they don't. I heard they're coaching amongst each other in the elite ranks. We can't remember nothing because we've trained ourselves to don't give a shit. And if we get pressed long enough, we'll start babbling and look away like a mafia movie wise guy would. That's who they are. Or the judge, he'll just goof off, fuck off, and threaten you with contempt of court. Contempt of court. Contempt of an illegitimate illegit court that they don't practice nothing but hubris and innuendo. It's all a fake, thin veneer of bullshit. Bullshit. Same with the lawyers. They are high-level partners in this underworld schematic that they maintain. That's all a fucking lie. The judicial, those judges, they're all pedophiles and liars and hardened criminals with a thin veneer personality that's maintained, like the cops. They get their community awards, and if you arrest one of their judges, all of the people in your community that has been engaged in organized crime with that judge, they'll come out and riot because you're taking away their Santa judge, and he's a crooked, or she is a crooked son of a bitch, and they know it. And their volumes of laws that takes a Library of Congress to fill, ain't nobody going to compete with that. And if you do bring proof to compete with that, like the 2 months I just spent in the jail in Tazewell, Tennessee, it got so ridiculous and worrisome of the complaints that I was writing out, trying to pass to the outside world of them breaking the law. The guards would just walk by and crumple up my complaint forms and throw them in the fucking trash, and then increase the abuse until I finally got that sorry-ass son of a bitch and brother of mine to send me a complaint form to the Judiciary Oversight Committee, and got the first judge that lied to me saying he doesn't have the power to dismiss this shit. And while the higher judge, which is the country's youngest punk judge, a gingerbread affirmative action thug and bully, fucked up so bad that the first judge that already lied to me dropped the fucking charges like he said he couldn't. And now I'm going to these other judges. They're just pentagramming me endlessly. That's their plan. And it's on, and they got some arrogant scum here that is powerless, besides the fact that they're in cahoots with the jerks across the street, whoever they were, and whoever they are now, which are different set of jerks that they manipulate around. And the rich jerk community pillar guy at the end of the road, which he's giving me a ride. He's got a little conscience, but believe you me, this guy would cut his own nose off before he created waves in his own little world. And I guess I can't blame him. He's a nice enough guy, but he's the connection that goes to the judge and the fucking sheriff and the pillars in Morristown and the pillars in Tazewell, while I sit here and try to peaceably live. Well, those days are gone, and I'm not trying to change nothing. Get it clear. I'm not going to save a bunch of zombies. I'm here to save myself and make money and to fall back into obscurity, happily and rich, and make more great stuff, because when we all die, everything's over on the other side, more there than here, believe it or not. And my parents didn't sacrifice their lives for me to quit, or for me to be inferior, or for me to fail an unknown test that I wouldn't even know about, because I've been filled full of so much misinformation. So this is Jason Faulkner. I'm about to go to town. I'm going to upload this now, and I'm not taking the authority with me or my tripod. I got to go shopping. I've been stuck here low on everything without money for weeks while I plead and scratch for money in a dead-ass zombie-filled country. Thank you for your time.